right, let's welcome in our guest on Pirate Radio Live today. He is Mack McCarthy. Coach Mack, how you doing, sir?
I am good. Hope you are.
I am doing well. Jamie and some folks will be happy to see you wearing East Carolina gear during
I,
your segment today.
I almost always wear pirate gear.
Usually Pirate Radio. You got the old Pirate Radio hat. I like that.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Mac, today we've got to talk about the format for our NASCAR pool. Myself, you, and Jarrett.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
do that in a moment. I do want to start with college basketball because I did jot down a starting five, some notes to ask you today, and I think I got some questions from Jamie as well. So
Uh-oh.
we'll start with my starting five here, and it's a question. I'm giving you Duke and Auburn or the field to win the NCAA tournament. What side are you taking?
I'll still take the field. I don't, as much as I like those two teams, and as much as they're almost guaranteed to go deep, they've got Duke has freshmen, and Auburn is still subject a little bit to a drought here and there, and who knows what it'll be like down the stretch for them too. So I'm taking the field. There's enough parity out there that I'd take the field.
I would as well. I almost came in here today saying it's Duke at the top, and then I looked, and Auburn's only lost one game, and they're playing in a pretty tough SEC, one would say. So you kind of have to include them as a duo, right? Or do you see one ahead of the other there?
No, I don't. I mean, Duke won head to head, but they won it in Cameron. They won it earlier in the season. I think Duke has improved since then. So maybe I might put the edge to Duke, but gosh, Auburn has a lot of weapons. I watched their game at Ole Miss the other day, and Ole Miss was playing well and playing at
They were.
home, and had a lot going on, and Auburn still had enough answers to win in a tough environment. So they'll be better tested. They'll be more battle tested when they get to the NCAA. Does that matter? Probably not as much as whatever matchup pops up on the bracket.
Yeah. Number two on my list, and you can look at this a number of different ways. Leonard Hamilton stepping down after
Yeah.
23 years at Florida State. You can go the first route and talk about his great career and what he's done as a basketball coach and at Florida State, or you can take the other side and say six players are suing him over NIL, and this is a sign of the times on where we are right now. According to them, he promised them certain things. They went, played with the basketball team, did not get those things, and now I guess are suing him. So it's you'd probably rather look at the good side of things, but man, it does tell you where we are in today's college athletics.
Yeah, but I don't think when you think about Leonard Hamilton, you think about this last thing. I think that's a blip on the radar and something that's going to happen more and more. And I don't think whether there's anything to it or not, it doesn't have any impact on the fact that he's a Hall of Fame coach and has had a great career, whether it be at Oklahoma State or Miami or the Wizards or Florida State. It doesn't matter. He's done it at a high level for a very long time, and I think that's what I focus on. It's really weird. I got to thinking when my alma mater joined the ACC, you had Coach K, you had Roy Williams, you had Leonard Hamilton, um, you had Dave Odom. Um, Trying to think of who else you had at that time. I think Kremens was already gone, but in the next year or two, you had Bennett and Boeheim come into the league. You had Gary Williams. You
Yeah.
had Gary Williams. I mean, you literally had a Hall of Famer at almost every single school. And now, when you look at Brad Brownell is the dean of coaches going forward in the league, and that's hard to imagine.
That is crazy. All the turnover and all the legends and veteran coaches stepping down just in one conference, and we're seeing it across college basketball and across college athletics. There is gambling news, so there's a gambling ring being investigated on the NBA front, but a few schools were named yesterday in an article where there were some suspicious bets going on regarding North Carolina A&T, Mississippi Valley State, and Eastern Michigan. And I think Jamie had a question regarding the gambling. Yeah, he says, do you think this college hoops gambling news slowly trickling out is just the tip of the iceberg? Is there going to be a lot more coming out involving larger programs? Any thoughts on this, Coach Mack?
I don't really think it's going to be widespread, but it scares me a little bit. You look at what's happened even in other sports. There's stuff going on right now in Major League Baseball with an umpire. As soon as the betting became public, at the college level, that this is one of the things everybody was a little bit afraid of, and this is no different than any other phase of society. So I'm hoping for the best, and I really don't think it's going to be widespread. But again, it still bothers me a lot.
Mack McCarthy joining us. Mack, number 4 on my list. East Carolina misses 10 free throws, and the two
Yeah.
best players miss 5 apiece, R.J. Felton, C.J. Walker. Pirates lose to Temple in overtime, a game that they did not trail until overtime. Would have
Yeah.
been Temple's first home loss, would have been East Carolina's 4th win in a row. And I guess my question is, why do good basketball players miss so many free throws? Why? And like you see on message boards, you get people like me on the radio saying, "Practice your free throws." Well, clearly they practice free throws. If
Yeah.
not, every coach should be fired if you're not practicing free throws. So they practice them. But man, I'm sure you've wanted to wring a few necks over the years with some missed free throws. But I mean, it happens everywhere.
It does, and it can be contagious. It can be, certainly there's a mental aspect to it, more than even a physical aspect to it. You see some teams year after year. Calipari's teams have always been famous for being poor from the free throw line, while good enough to go to Final Fours and win a national championship and all that. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I love the fact that the Pirate fans are frustrated with losing after winning 3 in a row, and kind of nitpicking on the free throws. Please make a free throw, which is not a big ask. I understand that, but the fact that they were in a position to win their 4th in a row is a sign of pretty good things compared to where we were in November and December, if I remember correctly.
Mac, I'm out of signs. I don't give a damn about a sign. Good God, a sign, Mac. We're not doing moral victories here, man.
No, I'm
God,
just talking about the way the fans have approached this thing, and many had given up hope, and now all of a sudden
well,
there is some hope.
I
So now
did.
our standards have changed.
Well, Jarrett got all excited and started to get me excited, and I don't know why I got excited. I shouldn't have got excited. When you have a good player that misses free throws, Mac, I mean, like R.J. Felton has played his ass off since he got here to Greenville. Like, I have no qualms
Yeah.
at all with him. But if you're Mike Schwartz, are you like, hey, R.J., work on your free throws more? He's probably doing it on his own, but like, do you get on a star player or a great player after that? Or, how do you kind of handle that?
No, you don't want to plant any seeds of doubt or negativity. You just want to approach it different ways. There are pressure free throw situations where you can shoot in practice. There are goals. Making 10 in a row before you quit or
Yeah.
whatever. But the main thing is, if it's mechanically sound and you don't have to change anything, you pretty much leave it alone from a standpoint of bringing it up. Now you still reinforce those things with shooting a free throw when you're tired, and those type of things. But if he's a good player, and by all accounts he's a good player, he'll be in that gym on his own. He'll take
Yeah.
care of that.
Mac McCarthy joining us. Finally, Mac, I thought about this on Saturday. I thought about it even before the color analyst in the ECU Temple game called us Eastern Carolina for the 47th time.
I saw that.
Um, with the more games that are on TV now, you get more unqualified announcers or more guys just getting into it, or guys that maybe should be watching rather than talking. But it was kind of funny the other day. The announcer there finally apologized. It was after the final media timeout. There was like 3 minutes left, and he said, "And by the way, it's East Carolina, not Eastern Carolina." I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you went this long. Well, I guess better late than never, but damn.
Yeah. You got to give him credit for
Yeah.
biting the bullet there.
Here's some credit. There you go.
Yeah, it is amazing though, because if you do your homework at all and you read any game notes at all, every school that has an issue like that, that maybe they're not known by a certain thing or they want to be known by a certain thing, whether it's the nickname or the school name or initials, uh, there is a real effort to letting the media know what to call a school
Yep.
or the nickname or everything. I literally, you'll appreciate this. I'm doing a game and UNC Wilmington's been UNC Wilmington or Wilmington for a long time. They really want to beat UNCW right now, and that's it. They don't want any variation of that. But I've been around a long time, coached against them, and been to their games, and know their coaches well. So every once in a while, a Wilmington would slip out of my mouth when I
Yeah.
was doing regular season CAA. So I'm doing a game at Drexel. And a gentleman known to you all, the AD at UNCW, was texting me and said, "Listen, it is UNCW. It's not Wilmington. It's not UNC Wilmington. It's not North Carolina Wilmington." So I'm pretty conscious of that myself, to be honest.
Did you say yes, sir, Mr. Bass, or did you say?
I didn't get it wrong anymore.
And you're right, Mac, because I'm doing PA. I remember, boy, Appalachian States was hilarious. It was like you can
Sure.
call us Appalachian State or App State. Don't call us Appy State,
Yeah.
Appalachian. Like I was, it's like who the
Oh
hell's
yeah.
calling you Appy State? But no, we've seen those. I remember Mark Daniels, play-by-play voice of UCF. I called them Central Florida during an interview, and he said, "We're UCF now." All right, Mark, you're UCF. My bad. So, but you're right. It is available in those game notes. Got another question from Jamie. Jamie, this is hilarious coming from you, an Indiana fan. He wants to know about coach behavior. Thoughts on a recent college coaches losing control of emotions, talking down about their players, other teams' players, blaming anything but themselves for losses. Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
I don't know exactly what he's referring to, but yeah, that's a bad trend, and there are a lot of bad trends among coaches sometimes. But yeah, you need to take whatever blame comes because you're going to get whatever credit or blame in the big picture. But you need to take everything you can off of your players, not put more on the players. And there's no reason for you to ever talk about an opposing player or coach except in positive terms.
and we've talked about Danny Hurley, and maybe he's referring to some of his antics, but that's kind of every game with Hurley there.
Yeah, Hurley is an interesting study. If you're going to tell everybody you're the best coach in the game in whatever vulgar terms you want to use, you're going to have to accept the camera being on you, and you can't complain about the camera being on you instead of somebody else. You've won a couple championships. You constantly berate the officials. You're constantly showing off on the sideline or showing up or showing out or something. You're demanding that the camera be on you. You can't complain about that. He's wrong in that regard.
And by the way, Doug Gottlieb now 2-22
Yes,
at Green Bay. Why are you smiling, Mac?
couldn't be happier.
Come on, Mac. That's
Couldn't
not
be
very
happier.
kind. Doug Gott.
Karma doesn't always work, but when it does, it's a beautiful thing.
Maybe more info on that on his radio show. Folks can go check that out wherever you can hear Doug Gottlieb. Man, I don't
I'm
know.
sure it's not his fault.
No, definitely not. Definitely. Probably society and kids these days and all that stuff. Even though I love that, by the way. There was an old, it was a former ECU coach talking about ECU privately, saying it's kids these days and the way it is. And I'm like, wait a minute, are we playing against grown men or are we playing against these same kids that you're talking about? Why are their kids beating our kids? They're all kids. It's
Yeah,
not.
and how did the kids get that way? There's another group we might ought to throw in there. What about the parents?
Yeah, you old people. Wait a minute, I'm old too. Me. Yeah.
I'm past parents, so that's okay.
Yeah. You can talk now, Mac. You're not a kid or a parent. You're good to go.
That, that's right.
Mac McCarthy joining us today. Mac,
OG.
the OG. Before we move on from hoops, anything else standing out to you?
No, OG comes back to mind because I still don't know if it's old guy or original gangster, but I'm not sure.
I think it depends on who's saying it, and in your coming out of your mouth, it's old guy. All right. We got to figure out our NASCAR format.
Yes.
So I've got a couple of ways we've done our pool here in the past, which is it's going to be myself, Jarrett, and Coach Mack. We do a snake draft, and we draft 5 to 6 drivers. I guess 5 would be a good number. And we
Okay.
go by just wins. So every week, the 2 losers are giving the winner something. Just your guy wins, you win, and that's it. Nothing else matters. Or we could count all of our guys that we draft. If your 5 guys finish third, fifth, 12th, 18, 20, we add those numbers up, and we just we can do it week to week that way, or keep a running tally. And so every driver matters, and the lowest number would win in that regard. Jarrett, you had an idea too. I like your idea. What was your idea?
It's kind of complicated, but it's a point system with just like if they win, that's 2 points, top 5, 1 point, and then DNF is -1.
All right. So you accrue points that way. Mac, do you have any ideas you would like to throw out before we decide?
I
Or,
kind of
or
like the direction that Jared's going, but here was my initial thought.
okay.
I like 2 points for a win. You ought to reward winning. We've had that discussion with college football, but I think you also have a point at stake for the best total, best average, lowest number of if you finish 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, whatever that total is, you would get a point for having the best average finish.
Okay.
And rather than taking a point away for a DNF, I think we also give a point for the worst finish in every race.
So a point for picking the worst driver.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
All right. All right. So we'll go 2 for a win, and then the top average amongst our 3 teams gets 1
Yes.
point.
Yeah. Since we
And
got a good guy, since we've got a young guy like Jared who can figure this stuff all
yeah,
out.
Jared, you're keeping up with all this.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, cool. And then we're gonna do worst driver. Now, if 2 guys wreck each other, I guess is there an official finish? No.
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, they'll get a bonus point for worst driver, and we're gonna do this and have a winner each week or each month. How do y'all want to do that
We just keep a tab for the whole year, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
for the entire season?
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we'll have to decide what we're going to do about special things like All-Star, Clash, all those kind of things. We'll have to decide what we're going to do about that. But we don't have to do the point for the worst finish. But I was just thinking, trying to do something different. But taking a point away for a DNF. Of course, you could have multiple DNFs. What do you do with those?
Yeah, we need to decide. And yeah, what do you want to do, Jared? You
I mean, I was like -1 for each DNF. Because picking like Kyle Larson, oh, it seems like he either wins or does not finish the race.
so it's
So
risk
in
reward.
Daytona, you could go -5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. All right. Final thing. So 2 points if you win. We will average our numbers for each team. Whoever has the best number there gets a point.
Right.
And then if your guy doesn't finish,
That's -1, and then worst finish. Like they have to finish for you to get the worst finish.
okay.
Now let's just stick with your thing with just
Okay.
taking a point away.
All right.
All right.
Let's just say, but let's make it a half a point we take away.
I was gonna say I feel like you're getting penalized more than 'cause if
Yeah.
you've got
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you get the best average, that's worth more than
Yeah, right.
let's do that. Let's take a half a point away for a DNF, 1 point for the best average for your 5 drivers, and 2 points if you win the race. Now,
All right, how
you've got to
about
win the
this?
race. You can't finish second.
How about to avoid the half point? Can we go 3 for a win,
Yes.
2 for best average,
Yes.
and then 1?
The
Yes.
whole point for minus
Yeah.
1 for
Yeah.
DNF. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about
And
that?
there'll be some races where we don't have a winner now. You got to know that.
That is true. Well, I don't know about that. If we
Yes,
lose,
there will be. Yes,
if
there will
we're
be.
taking 15 drivers,
There will
there'll
be
be
some winners beyond
Yeah.
15.
1 or 2.
There's going to be
maybe.
like a Harrison Burton,
Yeah.
which nobody's going to draft, hopefully.
All right. We will have our draft next week. Everybody cool with the snake draft?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 3, 2,
Yeah.
1. Okay. Mac, did you watch any racing this weekend?
I did. I rushed home, avoided a couple speeding tickets coming home from a game in Blacksburg I got here just in time for the national anthem and thoroughly enjoyed Bowman Gray.
How about Duke, Carolina, Royal Rumble, short track racing all on at the same time? It was a redneck holiday, Mac McCarthy.
I want to say a lot of things about that, but none of them on this show.
All right, fair enough. Mac, what's your schedule like this week?
Just have a radio game, Syracuse at Virginia Tech. We got a lot of prep to do. I've got 14 teams in the CAA to get ready for, and I've started doing that. Got a couple little TV games left, and then the CAA tournament on Flow Sports of all things.
I talked to Jeff Nadeau a couple of days after talking to you last week, our college basketball gambling guy, and had talked about you doing the CAA tournament. Ken Watlington hoping his UNCW team can cut the nets down, and Nadeau said they certainly got a shot. But he brought up something you did last week, William and Mary, and their pace and the way they play, and pretty incredible to see where they are right now in the standings.
Yeah, they won they're 10-0 at home. They didn't win 10 games last year total.
Man.
They've already won 10. And the bad news was last night. The good news was they beat a really good Charleston team. The bad news was their center tore his Achilles.
Oh, okay, that stinks.
Yeah.
Coaching matters, I guess, and it's mattering there with the Tribe this year. So, all right, Mac. Appreciate you joining us, man. Well, I got to do my NASCAR research, and we'll reconvene next week.
I look forward to it. I can't wait.